Hello and welcome everyone to what is the first episode of the In the Green Room podcast. I'm Wayne Ingram. I'm a professional actor and professional podcaster and voiceover, and I have wanted to start this podcast for some time, and this is season 1, which I'm very excited to be launching to you guys. The format of the podcast is quite simple. Every episode I am going to have an actor on to have a chat with, basically, and talk all things acting industry and careers and what it is like to have a career in the industry. The particular focus, at least for season 1 and at least for the foreseeable, is to be focusing on actors who are in the earlier stages of their careers. There's an element of, and we actually discussed this in one of the interviews in this season, there's an element of a desire, certainly for myself, and I think quite a few other actors as well, to hear the stories about the grind and the hustle. And you hear a lot of stories and a lot of interviews with actors about kind of the really early bits where they're kind of at drama school and their first year in the industry. And then the stories kind of disappear and you kind of jump straight ahead to signing with the top agents or landing that dream role. But the crucial bit, in my opinion, is the bit in the middle. That bit where actors are finding their feet, where they're struggling, maybe, and those mental battles. And I think we owe it to training actors, we owe it to aspiring actors, and generally creatives as well, and fellow artists, to be more transparent about these stories. So that's the concept of the show, essentially. This first episode was a pilot episode I did on my other podcast, the Real Actors Live podcast, which you can also find. And this was kind of my pilot episode, shall we say, for this season. So I'm starting with this episode. This was actually recorded back in 2019, around 12 months ago, almost to the day, I think, actually, with Bethany Fenton. Very interesting conversation. And we will touch base nearer the end of this season, perhaps even the final episode, with Beth again. I have actually already recorded that interview, so that is in the can, so we will be touching base with Beth again. So without further ado, please enjoy this interview with Bethany Fenton. So how's the career going?
Yeah, it's going good, actually.
Yeah?
I've come off the back of a really busy month in March.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. I booked 4 jobs in March, which is very exciting, but they've kind of spilled over into April.
Always a good problem to
which
have.
is very nice. So I've just finished the last of the 4 last week, so now I've got nothing.
Now you're unemployed.
So, yeah, now I'm unemployed. Now I've got no work, but it was great while it lasted. So.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, the kind of concept of the podcast is like realities of being an actor.
Yeah.
So what was for you? Because obviously, the reason I'm going to go with this. Okay? The reason I asked you to come on, and it's kind of because you're my first interview on this podcast.
Oh my god. Blessed.
And kind of hashtag blessed. And actually, the approach that I want to take with all interviews. Is there a lot of podcasts out there with actors that are like, they've picked somebody that has done loads of work and, you know, you'll recognise them from this, and this, and this.
Yeah.
And like all the podcasts kind of take that approach.
Yeah.
And actually, I think there's a lot to be said for actors that are new to the industry.
Nobody knows.
Or yeah, exactly.
Like
the unknowns, the people that haven't necessarily had huge amounts of success or made it, or, you know, even had TV credit or whatever. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of all of your CV, but you are relatively new to the industry.
Yeah.
And so I kind of want to get a lot of actors' perspective on kind of that, which is not really talked about too much. So kind of where I want to kind of start the conversation really is, what has been your biggest surprise, or what was your biggest misconception about what being an actor is like?
Okay. Well, I got into it because I love films and I love storytelling. So when I've watched films in the past, they've kind of impacted me. I love my British indie films, and they always kind of made me feel some sort of way that I wanted to get involved. So in that way, I was kind of like, it's all about the art and how it's going to make people feel, and putting together a film is like this big artistic experience that's going to give somebody like so much. And you think when you go onto a set that you're going to be an artist working in this environment, but actually the time on set is about 5% acting, which came as a surprise. So there's a lot more to it than just when you do your scene. Like there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it. Like making a film is maybe 5% acting, and then it's all about the crew and the technicalities and the positioning and the lighting. And yeah, like it's way more technical than the art. Yeah. So that has been a big thing.
Even in terms of the actual acting itself as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
I was saying, I think in my recent episode that I published, yes, it was, about how like the real skill is making it look like there's nothing to it.
Oh yeah. Yes.
And I think
yeah,
that was when I first like trained. That was after kind of like week 2 or 3, after all the name games are out of the way and all of the, you know, the two truths and a lie.
Yeah, I love
and all that sort
game.
of stuff.
Yeah.
Once that was all out of the way, it was kind of like, oh, there is actually so much to this.
Yes.
It's not about the lines. In fact, actually, the lines are probably the least important thing out of everything. But what about like the industry itself? Like, was that was that different to what you expected, or like
it was? I think I put off taking acting seriously for so long because me as my personality, I felt I didn't fit into it at all, because I feel like there's a misconception, and you've spoken about this before, that actors are very loud, flamboyant, showy-offy kind of influencers on Instagram. You know, they're very visible, attractive. Like, you know, when somebody at a party is an actor, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But in reality, yeah, the industry is kind of like that. And I thought I wouldn't find a place in it. But I think the areas that I do fit in resonate with me. So on some levels, yeah, there are the commercial castings and things when you have to be really loud and bubbly and have this wild personality and all the makeup and the hair, like showbiz. There's that side of it. And I think that has been hard to get my head around, because it's very visual and it's very much about selling you as a package. Yeah. That's something I really struggle with, because I'm not trying to sell myself as an actor. I try to do it to empathise with a character or a person. And I don't want to be pointing to me and be like, look at me, I'm doing this. I want to like be talking about a character or a story or an idea in the film or whatever project. So I find it quite strange that it's very, as an actor, you have to sell yourself as a product, as a thing. Yeah. It's a bit strange.
Funnily enough, listening to something today about actors and marketing themselves, and how a lot of the stuff that actors are traditionally told is kind of bollocks. And what they said was, you're not a bottle of soap. Right. Which I was like, I really like that because basically they were saying at the end of the day, you're not a product. Right. You are a product, and that is part of, you know, the business. You are selling, but well, you're not selling yourself, because that's prostitution, is basically what they said. Like, you're not selling yourself.
I've been kind of thinking about this, and be careful how I say it, but being an actor is not dissimilar to being a prostitute in some ways, because I was like, my agent puts me forward for things for a client. My client is looking for a certain appearance of a person who has certain acting skills and can do this certain job in particular, and then my agent like talks with them about who they've got who could suit that, and then we've got Beth, she could do this for this amount of money, great, we'll have her. And it's like, it's not dissimilar to obviously it is, because you're not doing that kind of work, but it feels very, you're being sold as as you. You're not like giving, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's the commercial side of things, though, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
And I think because that's the bread and butter for so many actors, I think it can feel so overwhelmingly like that. And I think as well that the industry has shifted that way heavily in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
It was starting to do that. I mean, I finished my initial training, 2011, so nearly 10 years ago.
Oh my God, yeah.
Which is scary. And the industry was starting to go that way when I started.
Yeah.
But it's really got horrendously bad here.
Yeah.
It's kind of become Americanized in that here we're just as interested in the model look as we are as they are in America, and less about the acting
model/actor.
Yeah, and it's become a thing here now, much more so than it was.
These Instagram accounts that are like Wayne Ingram official, Beth Fenton official.
Yeah,
it's like, no, you're a person. You're not an
right. And this is
thing.
what this person was saying about you're not a bottle of soap. Is like actually what you should be selling yourself on is your humanity, not how much of a product you are, because you bring there are certain emotional things and a certain personality characteristics that you will bring to your characters based on who you are as an individual, not necessarily based on how you look, which is how so many people are selling themselves. So many actors are selling themselves online because that's what they've been told. Sell your type, sell your type, sell your type. But actually the type is just, it's good to know your type, and it's good to know, if somebody was to just look at you, that they would put you in this box or that box or that box.
Yeah.
But that's not the be-all and end-all of who you are.
I totally agree. Yeah. It's all about humanity. Like, that is the whole job. And this was something I was thinking about the other day, because I worked on a 16mm film, so there were no monitors. It's all done analog. So
amazing.
You're shooting and you can't see how you look, and you can't watch the take back on a monitor, and you just shoot it. And that is so good. And actually a few people, Michael Caine even said this, like, the actors who want to watch themselves back, it happens way more with actors these days. Whereas really, if you're in it for the humanity and the feeling, and you're thinking, you're in the moment as your character, you're not thinking about how you look, and you don't have to go up to the monitor and think, I just want to see how I looked in that, and just watch it back and change my face,
Yeah, I was listening to an undisclosed podcast, which I'm sure you probably heard this conversation, which was, they were talking about actors that watch themselves on the monitor. I think there is value in it. Not in the sense of how did I look or how did I do.
Yeah.
But you can't self-direct.
Mm-hmm.
You can have in your mind what you think you're doing and whether or not that transposes onto film or not. So I do, but then, there's a line, right? Because I don't ever kind of go, oh, can I have a look?
Yeah.
But
how did I look?
But if they are going through the rushes at some point once filming's done and whatnot, it's more self-education for myself that I'll have a look. And actually sometimes, to be honest, I'm more interested in just seeing how well their cinematography, how good the cinematography is than necessarily the acting.
I think it's definitely good to watch it back. I think it just depends why you're doing it, because as well, if you've watched something back and you think, oh, I looked a bit weird from that angle, or oh, I need to move maybe I'll blink, like flutter my eyelashes. If you do that, when you redo
you're removing
the tape,
the humanity, aren't you?
People are going to see you're not thinking, you're not connecting, because you're so concerned about how you look.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's the line, because if you self-direct too much, then it takes away the humanity of it. It takes away the instinct. It takes away the art of it, and it becomes an exercise in choreography.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is not what the job's about.
Yeah.
So, but I do think it made me think when I heard it in that podcast, because I was like, first I went, oh, am I that guy? And then I was like, well, no, I'm not that guy, because I'm not looking. I'm looking at everything but how I look.
Yeah.
I'm looking for everything else.
Yeah.
And again, trying to self-educate myself of kind of like, not necessarily, oh, can we do that take again? Because, you didn't catch my good side. But because the shooting's done, the shooting's finished. I just want to see whether what I thought was appearing on screen appeared on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you enjoy watching your own performances? Actually, no. Let me change that question because
Okay.
I misasked that.
Right.
Do you watch your own performances?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
As in, when they send me the footage back, I will watch it to see how it's all come together.
Uh-huh.
I had, for the first time, I went to... I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. I went to a screening of a film that I was in. And yeah, my face was like 10 foot wide on this...
That's scary the first time you experienced it.
On this screen in Soho, and I did feel uncomfortable and I had to keep like looking away.
Okay, interesting.
Because it was just like, that is me and all these people are looking at me. You can't really escape my face. And I think because I was playing emotions as well, and there's a scene where I was like a bit emotional in a toilet cubicle, and I was like, I can't watch myself. It's very uncomfortable. I don't know, like part of me wanted to look, but I was also like, it's I don't know what that is.
Do you know why you felt uncomfortable? Or
I think because it's more of like, maybe because it was a raw emotion, and because it's like unfiltered. It's just, I was in the moment and I was being filmed, and film is quite intimate in that it picks up everything that's going on. I think that might have been it, but also just a self-conscious thing, like, you know,
like everyone's watching me, but they're not watching me.
Yeah, they're like watching me.
Yeah.
Being open. Yeah. Weird.
How do you feel like when you, usually with theatre, more so than film, I think because it's more there and in the moment. How do you feel when you've done a show and you come off stage? Well, not after you've come off stage. You've gone back to the dressing room. You've muggled yourself up.
Yeah.
So you're a normal human being again, and you go out to the bar or stage door or whatever, and people congratulate you for your performance. God. How does that feel? So
uncomfortable. Like really. It happened a little while ago, and I came out from, like you said, like from de-rigging. I came out and was like talking to the director about to go to the bar, and there was just groups of people kind of turning, or someone would like point and be like, oh, that's the girl who was out there. And like people do look at you, and then a few people make comments, but it's mostly just the staring. Do you find it's like when you walk past and people are looking and like trying to work out, is that her, is that not, or just trying to gauge what you're like now that you're not on stage? It's weird. Like, I'm just a person. Stop looking at me. Yeah. Weird.
And when people actually congratulate you, and when they actually make the approach, do you handle that well? Because I struggle with it.
No,
I've always struggled with it.
I'm not very. I really appreciate compliments. It does genuinely mean a lot, and I do like remember them, and I'm like, that's really nice. But when it's happening, I will kind of, I'm like, oh, thanks, I was like really bad, and oh, I messed up my lines, and just kind of try and take the attention away from what they're saying. But at the same time, I'm like, thank you so much, but also like, I messed up my line or something. Yeah,
because I find it really hard as a fellow introvert who comes across as an extrovert, which is a gift and a curse. I find it really, really difficult when you have those conversations in the bar or at the stage door or whatever, and they say, congratulations, you did amazing, because you say thank you. Well, I say thank you, and then I don't know what else to say.
I don't say thank you. I just make a noise. Like,
I think that might be better. I've kind of, my whole tactic now is just to say thank you and nothing else, because I don't want to feel. I don't want to kind of take up any more time with the compliments. Do you know what I mean? I don't want any more time to be given to complimenting me. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's a very, very weird thing. Yeah. Because, and I think that it's partly why I did the podcast episode about, actors loving attention, because I don't do it. I don't do it for the congratulations in the bar. I it's one of my least favourite parts of the job. Yeah. I'm grateful for it, don't get me wrong. And I do love the fact that people feel the need to congratulate. but I don't handle it very well at all because
Yeah.
I kind of, it's like, I don't want to seem arrogant by saying, you know, oh yeah, did you really, really like it? Did you?
How good was
Like,
I on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah, because I feel like even by going like, oh, did you enjoy the show? I feel like,
Oh yeah, I
do you know
hate
what I
when people do
mean?
that.
I mean,
How did you find it tonight?
yeah.
Oh.
Which
no.
I mean, everybody deals with that situation in their own way, and I'll never judge anyone for doing it. But
No.
but I will judge myself for how I handle that
Yeah.
situation.
I really liked that episode you did about what was it? Actors like to hide.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that's true.
Is that true for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I so there was an article I read with an actor, Kiersey Clemens. I think she was in Hearts Beat Loud recently, and she said the whole job is about throwing the attention off you and throwing it onto a character, and you don't bring yourself. And she was even saying with like, because she's kind of big now and she's getting fans, she was saying they pay so much attention to her and her life and what she's doing and what she's wearing and what she's eating. And she was saying the whole point of being an actor is to point towards this character and this person that you've been given to play.
Yeah.
It's not about me. Don't worry about me. Like, don't come and ask me for autographs when I'm on set and stuff like that, because I'm being this person. I'm using my experiences to be somebody else, and I'm doing them justice right now. So stop like looking at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that because we haven't really talked about how you got the bug, really?
No.
Did the hiding aspect of being an actor, like with me, have anything to do with you catching the bug?
It was.
I say it like it's a disease. I always call it catching the bug.
Yeah,
I'm like,
infected.
are you one of those?
Yeah. It was. Okay, so I never thought I would like acting or drama, because actors, like I've said a minute ago, can be seemingly self-proclaiming and out there and like the limelight, and I don't naturally as a person. So I thought drama lessons would not suit me and acting wouldn't suit me because it's about being watched by a lot of people, so it doesn't suit you. But then you do lose yourself when you're acting. If you're doing it properly, you become somebody else and you hide behind your emotions and say, I'm playing someone who's having these emotions and it's not me, it's a character. And in that way you're kind of hiding because you're acting, but also I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, like I'm not playing myself as such, and I want to tell other people's stories, not mine. So in that way, it's not about me. It's not like I'm an actor, listen to me talk, listen to me do this, because a lot of the time as well, you're not using your voice. You've like got an accent, so it's not you, or you're in costume, so it's not you.
Yeah.
So you are kind of hiding in that way.
Yeah. Did you see the article recently that went out about that study about actors changing their brain chemistry when they're in character?
No.
Yeah, they did a
What?
study. I think it was on The Guardian first, and then people kind of
When was this?
got hold of it. It was quite recently.
I'll have
There
to
was
read it.
a scientific study where they did scans of the brain as actors were performing. How they managed to do that, I don't know.
Right.
But they did, and came to the conclusion that when actors were in character, they'd drastically change their brain
Ooh,
chemistry
mental.
because they were trying to like subdue who they were mentally
Oh yeah.
to bring the character to
That
the
makes
surface.
so much sense, actually.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, because I don't know if you find this, but when you're playing a certain character, you go into their mood, especially if they're like a character who's struggling or depressed or going through something distressing, or you're doing a scene when you're crying. When you finish and you go home, you still have that.
Oh, I
in
mean,
you.
I'm still partly in character for a good 2 or 3 hours after I come off stage.
Yeah,
Not so much with film, because film's very stop and start.
yeah.
But certainly if I've done theatre and I've been essentially another person for 2 to 3 hours,
Yeah,
there'll
Start
still
to
be an
take
element
it
of that
on.
character that I kind of have to
yeah.
let him go to bed first before I go to bed. Do you know what I mean? For fear
Yeah.
of like waking up.
To exercise yourself
Yeah,
before bed.
and there's like actually there's a few characters that I've had, because I used to pride myself on like being like a character actor, which I don't really believe in anymore.
Yeah.
Which is interesting in itself. But I used to very much like the physical transformation and trying out new mannerisms. And I still have some mannerisms from some of the characters, the mannerisms that I created that have become habit, that have become my mannerisms, and they've stuck. They've stuck. Like, I had a character who years ago never wore his wedding ring.
Right.
He was married and he was a bit of a womanizer. He never wore his wedding ring, but he would always use his thumb to rub his ring finger.
Oh, do you do that?
And I do that.
Why? You're not married.
I've never been married. Never had a ring on that finger.
You're just a woman,
but it was a mannerism that I put in.
Why
in my character actor days, where it was like, oh yeah, I'm going to put this in because actually, if somebody notices it, it's a little detail that I know about.
Yeah.
The audience don't know about, but if anybody notices it, that might tell them something. That might tell them a story about this character that's not necessarily there for everyone to see, but is there if you're looking for stuff.
Right,
it's a mannerism that I still have, and occasionally I catch myself doing it. And this was a show that I did about 7 years ago. That mannerism's still there sometimes. It's the strangest thing.
Wow.
The strangest thing.
That character will always be a part of you now.
I know.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
But I just find it interesting how, like, that sort of stuff's not talked about. Like, the long-term effects that acting can have, because like we do put ourselves through an emotional roller coaster. And I think, you know, there are examples I can think of that I won't say in case I'm, you know, incorrect, that in my mind I'm like, yeah, that person has done themselves psychological harm from the acting that they've done.
But I think...
Did you hear, I can't remember who the actor was, but there's a story about, the famous story about the actor playing Hamlet who got so into the role that he saw the ghost of his actual dad in the wings. No,
but I've heard people being in character and having dreams as their character.
Ooh, I've not heard that before.
Yeah, so they will, like, who was it? It was someone quite big actually, and they said they were like, no, it's for Breaking Bad. It was Aaron Paul in Breaking Bad. He was having dreams about Jesse and his characters and like the drug dealers, and then waking up and like, because he was playing Jesse for years.
But they did, what, 4 seasons?
Yeah.
4 seasons.
But they were filming solidly every day for months, and he was, he started dreaming as Jesse.
That's
Weird.
Nuts.
Yeah.
But that stuff doesn't get talked about.
No, but it's interesting because, like, you've spoken about kind of anxiety and stuff before, having an anxious personality. I think for me, a huge part of it is empathy. Yeah. And I take on other people's problems so much because if a friend's going through something, I will overthink it and make it my problem and think, how would I feel if I was in that situation? And then I will maybe get upset for them. And I think I just focus on other people's problems with empathy, and maybe my brain chemistry changes a bit. But in the same way, when you're playing a character, you're doing exactly the same thing. So I think maybe it's just how I am in life suits being an actor, because it's the job to like make other people's problems yours and carry that when you're acting.
There are so many interesting aspects to the job, I think.
Yeah.
That, again, almost going back to like my very first question, which is like, you know, what shocked you about it, and you were saying about how technical it is and stuff, and there are so many aspects to it that don't get talked about. And I think there's an element of like society and the way that we've put film stars on a pedestal, like what Hollywood has done, that has completely taken the reality of what being an actor is, and bastardized it and fetishized it, so that people, I honestly believe that, for good or bad, I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing, but for good or bad, Hollywood is the reason why this industry is so saturated. And
it's the fame.
The good thing, of course, is that there are some people that do go into it for the wrong reasons and then fall in love with it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And that's great. So there is a positive byproduct to it. But equally, there are so many people that you meet in the industry. I've been close friends with some of them, who are in it for completely the wrong reasons. Some of them later kind of go, oh yeah, no, I was in this for the wrong reasons, which is great.
But I think I find that because there's this whole thing about being an actor because you want to be famous.
Yeah.
I really don't think I would ever, like, it's a bit of a first world problem. Oh my God, can you imagine? If I got to the point where I was good enough at acting that I got a big budget thing, that would be an amazing blessing, couldn't turn it down. But the fame that comes with that, I think that would ruin my acting, partly because it's so hard to be yourself and to be known, and you'd have so much going on. Like, you want to be able to disappear when you're not on screen and then come back and connect to a person who you're playing and empathize with them. I think fame is too much limelight to be able to be away in the shadows and kind of think about what it is to be human and what it is to be in this situation, and to have that space, if you know what I mean. It's never about fame.
Yeah. And a lot of people say to me, like, do you want to be famous? And I'm like, no. I mean, you're sat in my room right now. And there's a fuck ton of Star Wars memorabilia around here. It's very public knowledge that I love my Star Wars.
Yeah.
For me, like, I could retire happy if I was a lead role in a Star Wars film. Right? That's for me. The goal. That's the North Star for me, right? Okay. Because Star Wars captured my imagination from the age of 6.
Right.
So like, that has been a dream for me. But I have no intention of being famous. The problem is for me to do that dream role, it's going to bring with it fame. Yeah. But I want to be able to get on the tube and not have people taking photos of me.
You need to be able to be a normal, everyday human to play everyday humans, because you'll become detached from maybe you won't if you're grounded, but you can become detached from how it is to be like a normal human being, kind of. If you're being so watched unnaturally and followed and paparazzi and on talk shows and things, that kind of takes away from the humanity, because acting is all about shared experiences as humans. You are just a human playing other humans. It's such a weird job, isn't it? But that's what the job is. Like, it's empathy and shared human experience. And if you're put on a pedestal, it kind of takes away from that a little bit.
Yeah, and I've got a funny story now.
Go for it.
Well, 2 stories, kind of related.
Nice.
It was kind of the same thing happening twice. It's not starstruckedness. Starstruckedness, that is now
technical term.
Adjective, noun. I don't know. But it was... So I was in the National Theatre. Again, this is a Star Wars related one. The other one's not Star Wars related. This is a Star Wars related one. And I'm stood in the National Theatre. My friend's gone into the toilet. And I'm just there. And I see this man walking towards me.
It's a famous person.
And I'm like, that kind of looks like Ian McDiarmid, who plays the Emperor in Star Wars. I'm like, that kind of looks like Ian McDiarmid. And he was walking towards me, and I was just leaning against the wall. And I vividly remember, for some reason, there was a bin, like, I stood over to, like, a tiny bin, like, straddling this bin. Casually. And he was walking towards me, and I'm like, that definitely looks like Ian McDiarmid. That man really... Oh, shit, that is Ian McDiarmid. And then what felt like 5 minutes, but was really, like, 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I was like... Well, like, he plays my favourite character in the Star Wars films, and, like, he's an amazing character actor, and, like, it's amazing, and I want to tell him how amazing he is, and I want to tell him how much he has inspired me, but then, would I ruin his day? And does he just want to be here just to enjoy the theatre? And does he just want to go about his...
bin.
And I'm straddling a bin, and it's weird, and then I kind of went, no, I should probably just leave him alone. By this point, he'd already gone.
Yeah, long gone.
And I thought... Yeah, probably best not to have said anything to him. And equally, I work in Marylebone for the day job. Nice. And Celebrity Central around there is great. And I was walking towards the office, and I saw Jenna Coleman walking towards me, who I love. Jenna Coleman, I think she's great. And
so pretty.
And very pretty, and dainty, and just comes across as such a wonderful human being.
And, did she smell good, or did you not get that close?
I didn't get that close, but...
Resume.
But I was walking towards her, and like, we were going to cross paths, and I'm like, that's Jenna Coleman. That's Jenna
Keep
Coleman.
it cool.
Yeah, it was like, keep it cool. But because it was during I think it was whilst her last season of Doctor Who had either just aired or was just airing, and she was my favourite assistant as well.
Yeah.
So I took out one earphone. I was like, I'm going to go towards her.
This is my moment.
And I was like, started veering towards her, and I watched as she clocked me out the side of her eye, clock her.
Really?
And she raised her posture. She prepared herself. She got ready for me to approach her. The smile came on, and then I bottled it. I was like, no. And then I just carried on.
Hanging.
Yeah, I did. But I think it was because I saw that kind of, okay, work time kind of thing come in.
Mm.
And it made me kind of go, actually, just let her walk down the street.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to be approached. I'd feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I just kind of let it go.
I went to see Kerry Mulligan at the Royal Court Theatre, and she did a one-woman show, and I love her, and I was like, this is the only chance I'm going to see her, and she's on the stage. And then afterwards, because the Royal Court, like the stage door is like down this alley, and it's like pretty chill down there. There wasn't many people, and I thought if I really wanted to meet her, I could. And I thought about it. I left the theatre and I was like, I could just wait for her because she will come out. And no, I didn't. I left and I just went to the Tube, and I was thinking I could have met her, but at the same time I don't think I want to.
Yeah, this is the thing I was going to ask. Do you think it's like, as a fellow actor, do you think there's an element of it's unprofessional to...
I don't think it's unprofessional. I just think it's a bit awkward. Like, hi, and I know, like, I'm a bit of a flushy person. Like, I would go red very easily.
Me too.
Get very flustered very
really
easily.
Annoying.
So I knew that if I met her, I'd be like, like start sweating, going red. Like, I would start shaking. Quite a trembly person. And it just wouldn't come across well. So so I decided not to. I'm glad I decided not to. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, it's Kerry.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like, on both occasions, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm really glad I didn't, but equally I'm kind of like, yeah, but
just let them be human.
Really cool. But exactly, that's always the conclusion I come to.
Yeah.
I always come to the conclusion. I had another one with Cillian Murphy.
I went to see him last week at the Barbican.
Oh, amazing.
Grief is a Thing with Feathers. And
he's in that, is he?
Yeah, well, that's him. I mean, he carries the whole show. It's just him.
He likes his one-man shows, doesn't he, Cillian?
Yeah,
because at the time when I saw him, he was doing his one-man show. I can't remember which. It might have been the Barbican as well. He was doing a one-man show at the time, and he was full beard. Yeah. And
hot.
It was his eyes that gave him away, because I didn't recognise him because of the beard, and I was passing him on an escalator.
Oh my god!
Well, I say on an escalator.
I can't imagine him getting the Tube.
It wasn't. It was even more mundane than that. He was heading towards a Sainsbury's.
Cillian.
And he was coming off the escalator just as I was about to get on the escalator, and it was his eyes that came, and they all kind of went, "Looks like Cillian. Those looks like Cillian's eyes," and he clocked that I clocked him, but he kind of gave me that look of like,
don't you dare.
Please don't. I just want a normal day.
I can imagine.
And I went,
that.
Do you know what? Actually, fair play.
Yeah.
And there was kind of a moment of recognition.
Yeah, because he doesn't have any form of social media at all, and he doesn't really do interviews as well. He really values his privacy, which I really value as well.
Yeah.
In him.
Well, yeah. And I was going to ask, like, do you think that... Because there's a big debate at the minute about social media and acting career. Yeah. Do you think it has a part to play? Or do you think it's just one of those things, a necessary evil that we have to do?
Annoying,
or is
it? It's
because I battle with this all the time.
Right.
Like I am one of the pro social media people that will put out content because I believe in it.
Yeah.
But I believe in it as a business tool, and I believe in it as a networking tool, and I believe in it as a branding tool. But the battle I always have with myself is the brilliance of acting is the mystique.
Right. Oh my. Okay. I need to read you something because I really struggle with this. I know with your Instagram, I have noticed like it's very branded. It's very like worky, professional, but it's very much like I am an actor and I'm doing this professionally. And I think if you're consistent with it and do the branding like you do, that's one thing. But again, so there was this interview. Can I just read this to you?
Yeah, go for it.
So an actor, Kiersey Clemens, again, she said, I detox from social media a lot of the time. I'll just take all the apps off my phone. It's interesting that we carry ourselves differently on social media. My biggest fear is that people will know too much about me to the point that they're distracted by who I am and can't get lost in a character I'm playing. I work so hard on being an actor that if I diminish that by showing too much of myself online, that would be a bummer, she says. But in general, I'm just trying to make people laugh or post a picture that's cute or makes people happy.
And that is exactly the battle I have all the time.
Yeah. I'm kind of... Because when I signed to my agents, they were saying, like, disclose your Instagram handles, how many followers you have, we'll use hashtags, we'll post pictures of you, and then people will follow you, and you'll build up a following. And when you go to commercial castings, people got a bit of stick for this, and Equity actually said this was bad, that you shouldn't have to disclose your followers at a casting, but they take that into consideration when they're casting. And for me, I am going the other way in that I don't want to post stuff about myself anymore, because I was posting like headshots and posting behind the scene on set, or here I am in my trailer, here I am getting my makeup done, here I am in my costume. And I was doing it because it's like I'm acting and I'm doing work and I can prove it. And if a casting director or my agents see my Instagram, it's like, that's great. But then the way it made me feel was like quite uncomfortable. I was looking for validation. And I only really have close friends follow me on Instagram. So I don't want to be putting myself out there as this person who's doing all of this when really everyone knows me in real life. Yeah. I don't want to curate a person for Instagram. Yeah. But then the industry is always telling you, sell yourself, promote your work, be a professional. And it's like, do you use your social media profiles as a professional or as a person?
Yeah. See, because I don't like social media as a personal tool. I am on social media purely for my career. Right. If you were to look at because I don't think we are friends on Facebook, are we?
No, awkward.
That is awkward.
I don't really use
Facebook. I don't really post much on my personal Facebook. So certainly if I do, it's usually sharing a satirical article that I read that I thought was hilarious, or equally a kind of cause that I will constantly share memes about, like mental health and things like that. Yeah. But that's pretty much all my personal Facebook is for now. Anything else about my career, or even now, it's got to the point where, like, the things that I'm watching, because I consider that work. Yeah. I'll post that on my actors page on Facebook. So I've tried very much not to muddy the waters. But then equally, like, part of like branding yourself and part of selling yourself is selling the human behind
selling
it.
Yourself. It's literally selling yourself. It's really weird, isn't
it? It's something that I've never quite got comfortable with.
No. I'm not comfortable with it at all.
And again, I'm one of the, I produce the podcast, I produce my vlogs, but there's a reason why there's a lot of inconsistency with. I'll go through waves where I'll do loads of it. I think the podcast is different because the podcast is musings rather than anything else. But every other aspect of my social media is kind of like, is this right? Like, is this right to do this? Yeah. Like, people, it does bug me when I see people kind of damning social media and saying it has no impact on your career whatsoever, because actually it does. Yeah. And actually, the more and more I think about it, like, the idea of that casting directors didn't cast people based on how famous they were is absolute bullshit.
But I think that's
because
a
people have
thing.
Always it is, but I've heard stories of people that I know that have got very, 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 very far in an audition process for a big project, and it's come up against them, who is a trained actor, who doesn't have a huge following, versus somebody who isn't a trained actor. They're a model, they look good, but they have a huge following,
influencer,
and they've gone with them,
right? But
because they get bums on seats. Because at the end of the day, it is this showbiz is a business. It is about the money. It is about the money. So they have to make decisions based about the money, right?
I think that's bullshit. Like,
I mean, it is. I don't think it's right, but it's the reality. It's the reality, because the producers have invested in a project. Yeah. They want their money back. and a profit. That's what this is about for them.
But don't you
for
think
them.
that's diluting what you're giving the audience, though? Because if you're casting people based on followers and how they look, it's like having a social currency if you've got a lot of followers, which I do understand, because people will go and see the film because it's got a name attached, an Instagram name attached to it. But you're diluting what the film could have been, because the performance is not going to be for the right reason.
Yeah, but what I was going to say.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting
no, because I completely agree with you.
Yeah,
and I do think that is a problem. But as we've moved into the world of social media now, we now have a physical metric to show how famous someone is. Whereas before we just had reputation.
Yeah.
Now we have a metric to say this person's famous. This is the potential amount of tickets we could sell.
I know. Yeah,
right?
how messed up is that?
And they can calculate that stuff based on social media following.
Yeah.
Right? So granted it's a vanity metric and it doesn't really mean anything. But in the current state of where we are with social media, it does to some people mean something.
Yeah.
And if we're in a position where every actor is now being compared, because it's different when it's like an actor versus, let's say, a model who has no acting experience or training.
Yeah,
that's not to say that they can't act, and there are plenty of models that can act.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie, for example, fucking kudos to her, right? So I'm not saying not bad mouthing any models at all.
No.
But if it comes down to following versus acting ability, then I would choose the acting ability every time.
Yeah.
But if we're coming to a point where it's like there are two actors here that we like both of them, how can we possibly choose between the two? Well, let's have how many followers. Right, so it kind of in a way makes me laugh when I see actors say, "Oh, your social media doesn't matter." It shouldn't matter. I wish it didn't matter.
But then, do you think, because I'm looking at it like this, I'm trying to keep some sort of integrity on my Instagram, because I think sometimes with posting selfies and posting pictures of yourself when you know you look good, that can paint a certain picture. But then do you think if you get work and people you meet will follow you because they've met you and they've worked with you, people who've seen a film you were in will follow you because they've seen you, they're not following you because of how you look? Like, if say you're just posting loads of like landscape pictures and then people are like, oh, follow her because she did this cool project, eventually, maybe this is a naive way to think about it, but you'll have a lot of followers and then you'll have like a big break and you'll already have followers who you've worked with because you do you know what I mean?
I mean, the whole like I say what I say about like laughing at people that say it doesn't matter, but equally
in an ideal world, maybe.
Exactly. Equally, I really wish it fucking didn't, because it makes the job so much. It completely devalues the job.
Do you know what? I went to a commercial casting, and the role was literally like beautiful girl on sofa. That was it. And I walked in, and literally beautiful Instagram models all around me, and then me. And the form I had to fill out was like name, height, Instagram handle, number of followers, and that was it. And I was looking around at these girls and like, I bet she's got like 50,000, 20,000. There was this girl with amazing curly afro hair and like gym gear. I was like, well, she's getting this job, not me. Me and my 600, I haven't 600 followers. But the fact that that's even a thing now, because acting isn't about you. It's all about pointing away from you and pointing at a character and a story. Agree. And yet you've been cast because of your followers.
Yeah. It's stupid. It's ridiculous.
It's not about you.
But sadly, it's a reality, and I don't think it's going anywhere.
No.
I really don't think it's going anywhere for any time soon. I really don't. And it's such a shame. It's such a shame. But it's one of those things where it's like, and it's one of the things that I learned very early on that has dictated a lot of the decisions that I've made in my career, which is you've just got to learn what game you're playing and play it and play it well. And if sadly that's the game that wants to be played, then
I think it's all about
you kind of have
authenticity though, and I find that's completely unauthentic.
Yeah.
Like being an actor is all about being authentic, because actors are completely open with their emotions. Like, you share them, you can share it with the audience, you put your heart on your sleeve.
There's a fear as well,
you
there
don't
isn't there?
curate it.
And I face this fear all the time, which is, in the world of the internet, I want to turn it all off and go, do you know what? Fuck it. Fuck Instagram. Fuck Twitter.
Take me
fuck
with
Facebook.
you.
I just want to go.
Yeah.
And I just want to be an actor.
Yeah.
But there's this fear that if you do that,
it's all entwined.
you don't exist.
I know.
To the industry
it's all entwined,
anymore,
isn't it? People can't find you. And the same. So this happened to me actually. There was an amazing breakdown came through for this character in this new British indie film, and I was like, well, I want to work in indie films. I really want this. And I contacted the producer, the director, and then I get a notification that the director is suddenly following me on Instagram. And it's like, she didn't email me, she didn't follow me on Twitter, she didn't contact me, she's now just following me. Yeah. Looking at my pictures, watching my stories, and it's fine because I'm being me, but I'm also like, what, like, how am I coming across and why is this happening?
Yeah.
But
and then it's all about that inauthenticity and...
Yeah. And are they getting the right impression of me? Because if you met me in a room, I'd be completely different to how you perceive me on Instagram. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. It's all a ruse.
It is. It's so messed up.
It is.
What do you, as an actor, like, what do you fear the most? Which is a very ambiguous question, I'm aware.
I think, oh God, I really care about what people think of me, and I need a lot of validation and encouragement, because I tell myself that I'm not good at things. I put myself down a lot, and it isn't until others kind of encourage me that I'm like, okay, that's good. So my fear is that I'll do some work that people might see, or more people might see, and they will make negative comments and I won't be able to take it. So kind of like getting to a certain point. So let's imagine I get some sort of fame or some sort of recognition. Having the public eye have an opinion on you terrifies me, because even if one person says something negative about me, it like destroys my confidence. Really? So if someone was to see me in a film and be like, oh my God, that girl was awful, or oh, she's so ugly or something, I think that would destroy me. And on a grand scale, if I were to ever do a big thing, I think that would be my reckoning? Downfall? I don't know. I just think I would not. That always kind of scares me.
Yeah. Have you, I mean, I don't know how much like amateur dramatics and stuff that you might have done pre-training. Yeah. But have you ever read a review of one of your performances on that basis? Yeah. And so how did that go?
I read a review and it was like listing, this person's amazing, this person really carried it, this person was amazing. And then there were performances from da-da-da, and Beth Fenton. And I was like...
Did that destroy you? Or?
Well, I was kind of like, oh, I guess I didn't really make much of an impression. Yeah. Yeah.
That's shit.
I mean, it didn't destroy me, but I was also like, oh.
I feel like one of the worst things that somebody can say about a performance is, that was a bit forgettable. Have you ever heard that?
I've heard it, but I haven't had it said to me.
I've not had it said to me. Oh, yeah. But I've heard people say, oh yeah, they were a bit forgettable. Yeah. Before, and I just think, ow. Brutal. That really hurts.
People are really savage. Like, they are. Really mean, especially online. And I just think if people were talking like that about me and my work, like, oh no, I wouldn't be able to take it.
Conversely, what's like for you the biggest compliment that you could?
Oh my God.
That you could receive. Not that you necessarily have received, but if somebody said X to you, it would like fulfill you like to the nth degree. Like if you were if let me put it another way. If somebody were to judge your performance, what would you want them to think about?
That was so real, or like that was so like just real. Like that was really truthful, moving. Yeah, like that felt like real life. Yeah. Didn't know you were acting.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the best ones, aren't they? Where they go,
Yeah.
like almost like when they go, I forgot it was you. Things like that, you know?
Yeah.
Where they just
Thought
get
it was
so
real.
wrapped up in...
Yeah, I like that.
Why I was going to say, like, why acting? But that's kind of asking the bug question, but that's not the question I want to ask. I guess the question I want to ask is... I mean, it is why acting, that is the question I want to ask, but... so it's not misconstrued. Like, what is it about acting that... What do you kind of want to give? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that question.
Like, what is it that you're trying to deliver to the world, people, whatever, anybody that sees your work? What is it that for you is the thing?
I want people to be like, I've been there, or I get that.
Yeah.
Or I felt that. Or to watch something, because this is why I got into it, is I'd watched films and I'd seen an actor playing a character and in such a way, or do something, or cry in a certain way, or like fall to the ground in a certain way that I'm like, oh, I've been there. Oh, I feel ya. Like that how it be sometimes, you know? Like,
yeah.
Literally, I've been there. I'm not alone. I felt that. I can totally relate to that. And when you can relate to somebody or something that you've seen like that, it means so much more, because you're like, well, this is real to me. And I felt that, and we're not alone. And I can, like, there's also a sense of intimacy with that, because the film that comes to mind is Blue is the Warmest Colour.
I have heard of it, but not seen it.
So there's a part with the main girl. She doesn't care what she looks like at this point. She's crying in bed whilst eating a chocolate bar, and she's like dribbling and there's snot going into her mouth. I was like, oh, been there. Says more about me. But no, just the way she's crying, and it's obviously there's a whole crew in her room, but it feels like she's on her own, and you see it, and it's like, that is what it's like sometimes to be human, or to feel that thing. I totally get that, and I totally empathise, and we've all been there, and it's like an empathy thing that I just really want people to see something that they're like, yeah, I get it, I've been there. That's what it is to be human. That's what it is to be heartbroken. That's what it is to be happy. Like, as well, the scene when Will Smith at the end of The Pursuit of Happiness, he's walking down the street
so long.
And he's clapping, and he's like crying, and he's trying not to cry, and he's just like doesn't know what to do, and he's clapping, and it's like, you know, that feeling of overwhelming like joy, but when you watch it, it's like, oh, like I'm getting goosebumps thinking, like that's what it does when you see somebody acting well.
That's the magic, isn't it?
Doing, like, feeling it, and then you feel it with them. It's like a shared experience, but this empathy, and that's what I want, really, to see, for people to see part of themselves in the character. Yeah. Or an experience that they share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's... 2 questions.
Okay.
Actually, no. 1 question.
Okay.
I'll save the other one for later.
Okay.
After. What has been your biggest, as a newbie to the industry, for all intents and purposes, what has been your biggest struggle?
Oh God.
Like, what has been the thing that has just monumentally pissed you off, or just got you so stressed about being an actor that
being objectified?
Interesting.
Yeah. Especially, like, I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know if
particularly given the recent Suzanne Moore
my
article.
God, you read that, did you?
I did. I tweeted about it and atted her as well. I was furious.
Okay, so I've been kind of annoyed at the objectification, to be honest. In only a handful of auditions this has happened, but it has happened when I've walked into a room and you don't have to act. You don't even need acting experience for what they're going to ask you to do. And you stand, what's your name, Bethany? Who's your actor? Livy at BMA Artists. How tall are you? 5'3". Right, turn to the side, turn to the other side. They look you up and down. Okay, thanks for your time. I've literally had that before. And
I have never had that. Maybe it's because I'm a bloke.
Well,
possibly.
I don't know. Well, the thing was, there was like 10 men in this room doing this casting.
Right.
And there was one woman operating the camera because they were just filming us like turning. And I left that room and I was like, you don't even need me to have any skill. You haven't seen my skill. You haven't asked me to say anything. You just wanted to see me in person. And you've looked at me and made a judgment on me from how I look.
That's horrendous.
But that does happen with, even with like submitting a headshot, you get judged on how you look.
Oh, of course you do.
Yeah.
Of course you do. And
That's a
and
bit
I mean
different, but-
that is different because I think quite often that's an artistic decision.
Yeah.
I've often cast things. Well, I say often casting. I've cast things once, but often when I was in the process of that, the headshot was the first port of call for me to make a decision and go. Yeah, it was Macbeth that I was casting, and it was like,
okay,
no,
yeah,
that doesn't look like my Macbeth.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it'd be, that doesn't look like my Macbeth, but actually I'm intrigued as to what that look might translate to. Then have they got a show
But
reel?
that's the thing, because
But they're not quite so like.
It drives me mad to not be taken as a human, like as a person, because you can look a certain way and then you meet someone, it's like, wow, you like, I know what you physically look like, but wow, you've really got this essence, you've got this way about you. And it kind of...
Well, incidentally, the guy I cast as Macbeth was not actually somebody that I would have thought I would have cast as Macbeth.
Yeah.
And actually he was the perfect person for what I wanted to do with that role.
And I think sometimes people do get cast and it's really surprising because you're like, oh, they don't really look like that.
Well,
how
I mean,
I would consider
who would have thought
it,
Heath Ledger as the Joker?
Exactly.
Who would have thought it?
Exactly. And then things like that, they pull off because of how they are as a person. It's not all about how you look.
Mm-hmm.
But then, commercials, it's all about how you look. Often.
Yeah.
Oftentimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes films, romantic lead has a look to it, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It certainly does.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
Although I've come to actually be really bored of the romantic lead role.
Yeah, no.
That's not me ruling me out of any romantic lead roles to any casting
still
directors.
consider
Still open to playing romantic lead roles if anybody wants to cast me. It's fine.
Not ruling anything out.
Yeah,
but...
no. But generally speaking, I
Yeah.
kind of find them a bit bland as roles, and there's only so much you can kind of, find something really interesting. If it's not written to be a really interesting role, other than he looks good and girls fancy him, you kind of go, meh.
I know, it's always the fit ones, isn't it? Actor/model, you get all the jobs because of how you look. I mean, it's a bonus if you're fit, but
yeah, I mean, life's much easier, isn't it? If
can't all be 10 out of 10.
If you're great looking.
Yeah.
So my kind of lead-on question, which is kind of a lead-on question, but it's not actually related, which is why I kind of went 2 questions and then went, no, one.
Segue.
If you were to, go back in time, and you were to talk to yourself, younger you, would you talk yourself out of being an actor?
No.
Okay.
Because I did that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, of course you did.
So I did drama in school, and then my teachers / the world was like, you're not going to be an actor. How are you going to do that? You're not going to get a job, and fees and living in London and student accommodation. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to be an actor, and also it's just really hard, and actors are really flamboyant and I'm really not. So I did give it up. Went to study philosophy and theology at uni. And then I got an office job, 9 to 5, had that for 2 years, and then I was like, you've made a mistake, mate, because you want to be an actor. Because I was watching films a lot of the time just to get my fix, if that's what I mean, to escape. And because I love films and I love watching actors as well, and when I'm watching actors I can get that empathy thing as if I'm taking on the character. And it was the Easter bank holiday weekend 2 years ago that I realised.
Which is this weekend.
Oh, that's nice. I watched Shame by Steve McQueen.
Oh, I love that film.
How raw. It's so raw. So
I have never
honest.
had such a lingering
literally
emotional effect that has lingered for so long.
Yes.
that
So
film
good.
makes you not want to have sex for like a month. Well, not a month. It was maybe like a few days, but it kind of
Oh my
makes you
God.
just kind of really realize just how sordid and
Oh my God.
horrible it can be. And I was furious that film did not win more awards, and so few people know about that film.
It's
It was a masterpiece.
So I watched it and I was like, well, I need to be an actor now. So I
It was
literally, after
beautiful.
I watched it, and then that night I was looking up part-time acting courses, auditions for Identity, where I went. And that was the film. I was like, well, that's what I need to do. And it was amazing. Like, it's a pretty brutal film. It's very honest filmmaking.
So
and it's
honest.
very... I think maybe the reason it didn't get awards is because of it was...
A bit too honest,
took a lot
maybe?
of risks in what it showed.
Yeah.
That that's the reality of sex addiction, and that's kind of how relationships aren't simple sometimes. Like even a brother-sister relationship is not just standard. Like he kind of muddied the water with how he directed it, but it was so good and it impacted me so much that I was like, you need to do films, because if I can feel this way from watching a film, I can make someone else feel
You're right.
deeply. So I was like, I need to do that. I need to get on this, and I have. It's going well.
And that film sold me on Fassbender.
Oh,
Like I liked Fassbender anyway.
yeah.
But that for me, I was like, this guy.
There was no
It's good.
self-consciousness about it.
Not
There was
at all.
nothing like, I'm trying to be this attractive guy. It was like so honest, and when he cries about it, and there's an element of vulnerability, but also he's a predator, and I'm like,
Oh, it was
so good.
so good.
So good.
So good.
And Carrie.
But it is,
again.
isn't it? That is what the job is. That is why we do it, is because we want to have that impact on somebody.
Yeah, a shared experience.
Yeah, like I will never forget the show that I cast and directed that I was talking about, Macbeth.
Yeah.
We did it was my theatre company, we did a comedic take on Macbeth in order to deliver a narrative around mental health.
Comedic?
Yeah.
Macbeth? Wow.
Yeah, we turned it into a physical comedy.
Daring. Oh,
like clowning and stuff. It was
my God.
It was really fun. Some bits really worked. There were other bits that didn't quite hit the nail on the head, but generally speaking, the feedback we got from the show was great, which
amazing.
I was like so happy because it was a real risk. We didn't know if we'd managed to pull it off. We had kind of done a test of it before, and then so this was kind of like attempt number 2, which did much better than attempt number 1, even though I loved attempt number 1. But anyway, I digress. The main crux of it was for it to be about mental health,
Right.
and how, in many ways, much like what we've talked about with the acting stuff about how much you want to hide, how comedy, how so many people cover up their mental health through comedy and being the life and soul of the party.
Yes.
And it's an introvert technique, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about all that stuff and how people, and it was about the stigma of mental health and things like that, and how you don't want to admit to it. And this was about 3 years ago that we did it, the second tour of it. No, we did it at Camden Fringe, sorry, and then I think the year before that we toured it to a few venues. And at one performance we had the person that we'd hired to kind of do all the tickets and stuff had just said, oh, actually somebody wants to come backstage and have a chat with you, is that okay? And we were like, yeah, sure, bring them in. And there was this woman who, her daughter had, I think it was bipolar, and she just came in, she was in floods of tears. She was like, thank you so much. She said, because I have gone this entire time thinking nobody understands what my daughter is going through.
Wow.
And you have just restored so much faith in me that she's not alone, and that there are other people out there, and that this. And I remember I just turned to the cast and I was like, this is why we do this job.
Yeah.
For that moment. Because we've affected somebody and we've inspired them or given them hope or, you know, anything. Yeah. But we've had an impact and we've made people think.
Yeah, and I think this is why film and theatre and all the arts really will continue even in like a recession or when people don't have money. Like when things aren't going great economically, it's because we do need that. We need to connect together. We need to have something that's like a shared human feeling.
Yeah.
And the arts really do that. Film and theatre really does that. It does bring people together. And the stories you tell, like humans have always been telling stories about what it is to be human, but that will always be important because we're learning about ourselves and each other. Yeah,
absolutely.
Quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm going to ask one last question,
okay,
and then we'll wrap up because we have been going for over an hour. Oh my god!
Oh my god!
That has flown. But one last question before we wrap up.
Yeah.
If I think I know what your answer might be, based on the conversation we've had.
Okay.
But if you had a magic wand and you could change anything about what being an actor is and the hashtag actor's life, what would you change?
The superficiality of it.
I thought that might be your answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get rid of all that bollocks and just go back to what it's really about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be able to connect to people on a real human level. It's all about being real.
Yeah.
And it's so superficial now with...
Which is so sad, I think, because we live in such a superficial world right now.
I know.
And you'd think that
our job is to not be that.
Yeah.
Our job is to be real, to
hold the mirror up to life and say, this is what you are.
Yeah, literally.
But we're feeding into, with the industry being as it is at the minute, we are so feeding into...
We're holding up a filter, not a mirror.
Oh! Boom. Mic
Boom.
drop. It's so true, though.
Yeah.
So true.
I know. That's what really annoys me. But then you meet people on set and you meet the crew and everyone is completely themselves, and then you become best friends in 5 minutes because everyone's just like themselves.
Yeah.
And it's not curated and it's not putting on this facade of being a professional actor. It's just like, I'm a human and I'm doing this thing because I love people and I love telling stories, and that's what it is. That's what it is, and that's it.
It's storytelling.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less.
No.
Just storytelling.
No pedestals, no followers, no filters. Yeah.
Although we do get graded, so on film. So
Yeah, well, yeah.
I suppose that is just
Colour grading,
filters.
yes.
Yeah. Awkward. Anyway. I can't go without asking you to tell people if they want to see a filtered version of you or they want to see thoughts, musings, where can they find you?
You can find me online at I'm on Twitter. My social handle is so like unpronounceable.
Yeah,
Instagram
I was trying to work out how this works the other day.
So because on social media you heart things. You heart.
Right.
Instagram, you heart stuff. Twitter, you like heart things.
Yeah.
So it's Beth Hearts. It's the things that I heart on social.
Right.
So it's cramming the word Beth and the word heart together. So it's like Beth Hearts.
But have you also noticed...
Be the arts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was like looking at it, because obviously I was like prepping to do this with you today. And
how do I
was looking at it and I was like, is it Beth Hearts?
Beth Hearts.
Be the Arts? Or is it... I don't know. And then is your Instagram one different? Your Instagram?
No, my Instagram's the same. So that it's consistent, but...
Yeah.
Beth Hearts.
Yeah. Beth
so
Hearts.
BETH.
Or Be the Arts.
ARTS.
I thought, as I was looking at it, I was like, do you know what? That's really fucking clever.
Oh my god, thank you so much.
Because I was like, she's used Beth and then turned it into Be the Arts. I was like,
no, it's not. That sounds a bit pretentious, does it? Be the Arts.
It does though. Yeah, no, you're right. I'm kind of...
It's the things that I heart online.
That's great.
But I was like, at 13 when I came up with that, so forgive.
It works.
Thanks.
It works.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's been great. I've been so glad that we got this done.
Thanks
You're my first
so
interviewee on this podcast.
Thank you so much.
One of many, I'm hoping. So
kind of forgot we were recording, so God knows what
That's
I
good.
said.
That's exactly what I wanted. Cool.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. We shall end it there. So that's it. That was my chat with Beth Fenton. Again, as I said at the top of the show, we will actually be touching base with Beth again at the end of this season, because that interview was recorded 12 months ago. There's since been another interview that has been recorded, which is a very interesting conversation, particularly as a follow-up to this. But that's not till actually the end of the season. In 2 weeks' time, which will be when episode 2 is going to drop, we're going to be touching base with Michael Peluso, a very good friend of mine who I met on the set of a film, which no doubt comes up in the interview. That was also the other interview that I managed to record before this whole coronavirus lockdown came into fruition. So that's my last kind of in-person interview until we kind of touch base with Beth at the end of this season. But that's in 2 weeks' time. I'm really looking forward to it. It is a killer of an interview. I'm really, really happy with it. Michael was very gracious to agree to have a chat. We cover a lot of stuff, and he is so candid and honest. I'm really looking forward to you guys hearing that episode. If you could do me a favour, this is a brand new podcast which is being launched, so I want to get this in front of as many ears as possible, just because I think the conversations that are happening are so valuable to fellow actors and artists. I just want to get as many people hearing it as possible. So do me a favour. If you could share this podcast with somebody who you think might benefit or might even be mildly interested, and also if you could head over to your podcast listener of choice, whether that be Spotify or iTunes, Apple Podcasts now as it's called, and just leave a review of some kind, whatever system is in place there, it would mean the absolute world to me. I've been working quite hard on getting this podcast off the ground. It's taken me quite a bit of work. I just want to get as many people listening to it as possible. So please, 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 if it has been of any value or you know anybody that would be interested, please send it their way and leave a review as well. So that's it for this episode, and I will see you or speak to you in 2 weeks' time.